Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Your co-host for today's show, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Great to be here, guys.
And we've got two guests joining us in studio today. We've got the mayor from the city of Farmers Branch. We've got Mayor Terry Lynne.
All right.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Curtis, for having me.
And on the end, we've got Officer Jeff Pruett.
Thank you. Welcome.
So how's everybody doing today?
We're good.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Outstanding. And it's kind of a different show today. You know, we brought our first mayor in, right?
Hopefully not our last, but first.
Yeah, hopefully not the last, but definitely the first. He's a trend setter, if you will.
There you go.
And, you know, it kind of makes me think back to the days of the old Russ Martin show. Those guys, you know, you had Russ. Russ had a friend who was a mayor, and Russ's mayor friend was Betsy Price, the former mayor of Fort Worth. Well, and I had the privilege of calling Russ a friend and the opportunity to go on the show a couple of times, but unfortunately, Russ passed away here, 3 years ago, and since then, Dan O'Malley from the show started the Treehouse Podcast Network, and that's kind of how our show came to be. That's how Offbeat got here. And I just figured that, hey, if the old show had a mayor, we needed a mayor also.
There you go.
Right? So
Absolutely.
I went out and I found us a mayor.
Well, it wasn't hard. We used to work together.
Had to make it official.
Well, it was easier to find one if I already knew one.
There you go. Yeah.
So yes, Mayor Lynne, we did have the opportunity to work together for a number of years, and I've had the privilege to call you a friend over those years, not a combatant. So you've always supported us in law enforcement, and really going back to that history, at one point I was our Police Officers Association president in the city, and we worked a lot together, and I always appreciated you taking care of the guys.
Absolutely. Before I was mayor, I was on city council, and so I had the opportunity to obviously work with Steve for 6 years.
Wow.
As a city councilman. And even a little bit before that, because I was a homeowners association president and whatnot, and I was on some city boards. But we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, and we still get along.
That's why I was saying wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, we hated to see you go. I know it was time. You said it was time. I said no, you weren't supposed to leave. The deal was, when I became mayor, nobody was supposed to leave on my watch.
Well, and see, I had the take on it. I want this guy to be mayor whenever I retire so he can preside over my ceremony. and that's exactly how it worked out.
That's how it worked out, except he didn't understand the assignment, but that's how it worked out.
Yeah, but we do appreciate everything you did for our first responders in Farmers Branch, and I know you're a huge supporter of first responders. You've been through some of the different academies out there. For our listeners that are not officers, a lot of agencies offer like a citizens police academy where citizens can come in and they can do, they can experience some of the stuff that the officers go through, and they kind of a behind the scenes look at stuff. And Mayor Lynne, you've kind of do that with several different agencies, correct?
Yes. That's a great opportunity for people to take advantage of what cities and some other organizations have to offer. Steve taught the Citizens Police Academy in Farmers Branch, and I went through that before I became a councilman. I figured I'm running for council, and if I'm going to serve and I'm in charge of the police department's budget, I sort of need to know how the police department works. And the same thing for the fire department. So we had Fire Academy also. I went through both of those. And it really was a great opportunity to understand on a much deeper level how police department works, how fire department works, what you guys have to deal with on a daily basis, how you go about your job. And so from that, it sort of made me become like the wannabe policeman. And I was fortunate enough to get into the FBI's Citizens Academy, and I went through that. And then as a result of going through that, I got to go to FBI headquarters in Washington and then in Quantico and see everything they do there. And then I served on the FBI's Citizen Board here in Dallas for about 6 years. I went through the DPS, Department of Public Safety, the Trooper Citizens Academy. And then last year, I went through the first ever Secret Service Citizens Academy. First time they've ever done this. And that was very fascinating.
So in the fire academy, did they teach you how to sit in a recliner, or did you have to grow a mustache, or
Well,
was
we
it
ate.
optional?
We ate a lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's what I
You know,
thought.
fire-
I thought it was like
Blow a
I was to give you a fake mustache for the day you're there. You get sorry, it's prerequisite, sir.
Yeah, no, the good guys over there. I have a whole lot of respect for them because we have a fire training tower in Farmers Branch, and we actually got to put on the gear and go do it. They charged up the hoses, and it is a lot harder than it looks.
Oh yeah, all funness aside, we do appreciate our fire guys in fire. So
Yep.
Absolutely, we do. You know, and we always give them a hard time. We joke with them, they joke with us, and it's fun. You know, we had the old what's her title? We had old Lauren Sanchez in here on episode 9, and Lauren's was she director of emergency
disaster relief, something
management, joint task force, something like that.
like that. It doesn't even fit on a business card.
She's an EMS specialist.
There you go, yes.
She manages disasters.
Yep.
And so Lauren was our first fire side person that we've actually had in studio, and she made it through the whole thing. She didn't
Good.
we
Great
didn't
job.
have to usher her out or anything. So yeah, no, we appreciate the support you've always shown, and you know, towards first responders, and I appreciate that me personally, because I've experienced it firsthand. All right, Jeff,
Yes, sir.
you're currently an officer.
Yes, I am.
How long have you been an officer?
Total 33 years.
33 years.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
that's a long time. No, I'm not even gonna jab that one.
Respect.
Yeah, 33, man, that's long.
Now, where do you work now?
I work in a little bitty town called Krugerville, Texas, out in the middle of Denton County,
Okay, kind of. Now, Krugerville, that's kind of northeast of Denton.
northeast of Denton. If you traveling up Highway 377, you blink your eye, you're going to miss it. We're right there just south of Aubrey.
Okay. All right. And have you worked for any other agencies?
I started out at the Sheriff's Department in Denton County, did 9 years there, and then did almost 17 in Flower Mound.
Wow. What all positions have you gotten to do in your career in law enforcement?
I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I started out in patrol. I did time with the Narcotics Task Force on the SWAT team. Then I ended up going to Flower Mound, rode motors for a while as a traffic enforcement officer and a accident investigator, and then went back to patrol for field training, and then ended up in my small city that I'm in now.
Nice. Yeah, very nice. And you kind of migrated out of the big city to the small city just to work your way off towards making it into the sunset kind of
Yeah,
thing?
riding off to the sunset.
Kind of, I was looking to go out in the sticks a little bit, get around away from some of the pavement, but it's catching up with me quickly.
Yeah.
Dusty trails.
Now, in your time in law enforcement, you seen anything funny?
All sorts of stuff. And you can never get through a career without all the different things that you see, both on duty, off duty. You notice things that normal people usually don't ever see.
Well, share some of those with us.
I'll start out when I was new and I was young at field training. I had one of the greatest field training officers ever. She was probably taught me more than anybody that I ever learned anything from law enforcement. So we're out on this one call, and I'm, the trainee, so I'm responsible for taking the report from a lady that had been sexually assaulted, unfortunately. So I'm standing there asking all the questions of her, my field training officer, standing in the background, observing and monitoring what I'm doing. And all of a sudden I see the field training officer reach up and stick her flashlight down the front of her shirt. She starts dancing around behind the...
What?
Yeah. She starts dancing behind the victim. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. This goes on for a few minutes. After we get done, we get outside. She tells me to sit in the car, and she goes to the back of the car and raises the trunk. A couple of minutes behind the car, she comes up and sits down in the car, and I'm like, what's going on? Are you okay? Everything good? She goes, no, but the June bug that went down the front of my shirt, down in my vest that I squished with my flashlight had to have been taken care of.
Nice.
But you get that image in the background behind your victim, and you're trying to concentrate as a brand new recruit, brand new rookie to impress your field training officer, and she's back there doing the dance with a flashlight down the front of her shirt.
You're taking everything in. Am I doing this right? Am I not doing it right? Trying to clue in on her actions, and she's got a flashlight. She's pointing down her shirt.
Absolutely.
Like, is this some kind of a baseball sign? You know, am I supposed to steal first or second, or what? Yeah.
Am I not asking the right questions? What's the deal? You're reading her face, and you can't tell what's going on because she's disgusted by the event she's going through.
Well, also you dated yourself too, because flashlights aren't that big anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of hard pressed now.
33 years.
Well, you know, maybe that's a new training technique.
Yeah, there you go.
You're doing something wrong, so I'm gonna, trying to have a flashlight down in front of my
Am I
shirt.
supposed to steal third or just keep going?
Good times.
Well, and you mentioned something to me earlier about some car keys.
Oh, yeah. The car key adventures. As officers, you get a chance to eat. And you get to go to a sit-down restaurant, which is rare because usually it's fast food, like in a rush. So myself and this one officer who was a senior officer to me are at a sit-down restaurant enjoying a good meal. And, of course, Murphy's Law kicks in, and we end up getting a call. So we both have to leave.
Oh, absolutely. It happens every time.
Yeah, it never fails. So we get out on the getting out of the restaurant. I'm going to run to the restroom because who knows how long we're going to get a chance to get another break. He decides to do the same thing. He follows me in the bathroom a couple of seconds later. Well, there's only one urinal, one toilet. He goes into the toilet. A couple of seconds later, I hear the splash and the expletive scream out loud, and I knew exactly what had happened. When you hear a set of keys hit a toilet bowl, everybody in the restaurant heard that expletive that he said as he was in that bathroom screaming, and I come out the door rolling, tears rolling down my face. So, but he did. He showed up to the call with me about 10 minutes later. I didn't ask any questions, and he told me he wasn't going to tell me how he did it. And
You didn't shake his hand for a couple of days, right?
I didn't get anywhere near those hands.
Wow. Did you guys like rotate out squad cars or anything like that?
Oh, no,
or?
that was an agency. Thankfully, we had take-home cars, so that was his cars and his keys.
Those are his keys.
That's right.
Never touched that steering wheel.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to touch the keys to that car for sure. And yeah, no.
Nasty.
But it's so true what you said about sitting down to eat, and it seems to always happen. You're going to get a call, and you're going to have to leave. And I mean, I think that's why a lot of us just hit up fast food, go through the drive-through, eat in your car.
Yeah, people don't realize how unhealthy you can be when you have to swallow a meal down in about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Get back on the road.
I was taught if we did get to go to a sit-down restaurant, as soon as the food hit the table, you ask for a check and pay it right then. That way, if something happened, you weren't running out and leaving them high and dry on a bill. So that was what I was taught in FTO-ish.
Exactly.
So
now, Jeff, you also mentioned a story to me, and I understand you used to be a motor officer.
Correct.
But prior to being a motor officer, you were out doing some traffic assistance out at Texas Motor Speedway.
Correct. Back when the Speedway first opened up, we had to direct traffic to get them in and out. Contraflow, where they shut down both sides of the highway and all the lanes go in, and then after the race, all the lanes go out to disperse traffic. So I got sent to block off an intersection on Highway 35W. So while I'm there, I'm not yet a motor. I'm in the traffic unit, so I'm having to man a car. So the motor guys are riding around me in circles because they get to be on motorcycles.
Yeah, just kind of like, hey, look at us.
Yeah, look what you want to
show
be.
Offs.
Look at what you want to be one day.
Yeah, ding, 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 ding. Like Shriners out there riding around on their bikes. Yeah.
So while I'm getting to be comfortable underneath the canopy and sit with the car in the ice cooler, they're getting to ride around and do fun stuff. So I have this sergeant that decides to show up and ride around. He gets a call. He takes the call when he comes back. Because of the backup from the Texas Motor Speedway, there's quite a few citizens that have, basically left their cars parked in the line to get into the speedway and have gotten out to come ask questions or just kind of hang out and chat for a little bit. So while we're doing this, he decides he's going to come back and show them what a motor can do. Starts doing some circles, dragging his footboard around.
And let me just clarify real quick. The footboard's kind of like a floorboard, if you will, on
under your feet on each side.
like this was a Harley,
Kawasaki.
Kawasaki. We still had the floorboards on it, so something to rest your feet on.
Correct. And when you lean it over far enough, tilt that, you can drag those footboards and grind those footboards down to razor blades, but it catches everybody's attention.
So he was looking like a badass.
Oh,
just
yeah. He's
dragging.
showboating.
He was doing a rodeo.
Yeah. He was making it look good. And he did a good job. Made it look spectacular. Got it over there, got stopped. Everybody drew everybody's attention, got them, talking to him, having a good time. A few minutes of answering questions to citizens. It's time to get off and, man a chair next to me with the water cooler and hang out and get something to drink. He gets off the bike and doesn't put the kickstand down. So that couple of minutes of, look what this bike can do and look what I'm capable on it, went right down the drain as soon as that bike fell over on its side.
Did he like jump up and hey, I meant to do that?
Yeah, I think that's your natural reaction as a motor officer. I'll honestly admit, I dropped mine a few times, and you want to look cool, so you step back and go, what happened? And then you go pick it up, look at everybody, and go, man, I guess I better get the shop to look at that.
Well, one of our other co-hosts was always telling us that kickstands are optional.
Right?
For you guys, I've never been on a motorcycle, but
and he's referring to our rotating co-host Josh Jackson, a former motor officer from the Capel Police Department. Josh was a motor for many, many years, and I guess in talking to him, maybe he didn't realize his bike came with a kickstand, but he told several stories, and again, these stories go back to episode 1, so if you haven't heard it, check it out. But he was talking about he just fly up on a scene and just throw his bike down, and said, you got to. I mean, what kind of effect do you have there?
you'd think the other officers would know. They'd pull up and go, "Oh, look, he's here." We know whose bike's here.
Bike down.
There's a bike laying on the ground.
Well, didn't we all grow up doing that with our Schwinn Stingray?
I think we talked
yeah,
about
there
that.
you go.
Yeah,
It's ingrained.
It is ingrained in our DNA, I guess.
And now it's someone else's bike, so
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to throw it on your own bike.
No.
Why not? Now, Jeff, you were a motor again for several years. Once you were on a motor, any stories?
There's a few. You get some downtime or you get bored every once in a while.
Oh, riding wheelies, right?
Well, no, not quite riding wheelies,
Okay.
but you'd be amazed what the city bike would do when you go back on some of the bike trails through some of the parks and stuff. So
Taking it off road.
taking a little off
Was this
road.
before GPS?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dating myself again, way before GPS.
Any elaboration on that? Just off-roading on the...
The city that I worked in, of course, had a ton of paved bike trails and stuff, and we were first responders to that, literally, because if something happened, you couldn't get a car or fire truck down those long trails. So the officers on motors would get dispatched to stuff like that. Well, being next to the lake, there's a big riding area for mountain bike enthusiasts. Well, you got a mountain bike rider go down, you got to get to him somehow. Well, okay, you dispatch us to the paved trails. Why not us to the injured rider on the bike trails? City bikes aren't mountain bikes. I can kind of leave it at that. Just let your imagine run wild.
But it depends on how you look at this, though, because if you need to get somewhere in case of an emergency, you need to be familiar with that area.
Correct.
So, and the best way to become familiar with an area is you got to go out there and practice.
Exactly.
Going over that area.
Exactly. There's a few times the street bikes or the road bikes decided to test a couple of those mountain bike jumps.
Absolutely. You don't want that training scar when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you got to have that experience.
Absolutely.
Jumping a street bike.
And that was the second time I replaced the front tire.
All right, guys, it's time for a break. We'll be back to more Offbeat in just a minute. Welcome back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Great to be back, guys.
Joining us in studio, we have Farmers Branch Mayor Terry Lynne.
Happy to be here.
And on the end, we've got Officer Jeff Pruett.
Awesome, guys. Great to be here.
All right, now when we went into break, in the first segment, we were actually talking about motorcycles and in different motor stories we've heard. Jeff, you're a former motor officer. Now, Mayor Lynne, from what I hear, you're bringing motors to Farmers Branch.
That's right, Steve. We've never had them in Farmers Branch, and I ran on slowing traffic down in our city. It's speeders are a huge problem because when they're speeding on the main thoroughfares, then they're going way too fast through the neighborhoods when they cut in there. So I had lobbied 3 former police chiefs to get motorcycles, and all 3 said, no, we're not doing that. Well, we now have a police chief who used to be a motorcycle officer. And so as soon as I got elected mayor, the first week, I went and met with the chief. And I said to him, Chief, what's your thoughts about motorcycles? And he said, well, I used to be a motorcycle officer, and I think they'd be a really good tool to have. I said, great. How many do you want?
Nice.
I didn't ask him if. I said, how many? And he just looked at me like, gosh, what's this guy going to do for me? And he said, well, I guess I could use 3 to start. I said, we'll make sure you get them.
Yeah.
And we put them in the budget, and it was done lickety-split. I mean, one of the fastest decisions we've ever made.
Did y'all order them with kickstands?
With kickstands,
Okay,
yes.
right, man.
And
Farmers
so
Branch.
officers had
Spare
to go
no
to
expense.
special training to learn how to use kickstands.
They didn't have to ask for them. He gave them.
There you go.
Here's
Spare
with
no
it.
expense for
Came
Farmers
with
Branch.
it.
We're going with it.
Yeah, maybe every year they go back and they have to get recertified on
refreshers.
kickstands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that part of the range qualification?
yeah, kind of annual qualification, the annual kickstand qualification.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
He's got to learn how to put that foot down.
That's right.
I like it. So you were able to get that before council, and you guys were able to pass that, and you guys have passed quite a few things on council, a lot of things that I'm aware of. And anything ever funny happen in the council chambers or during a council meeting or anything?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you 2 quick things. One, the night I was sworn in as a council person, so this is going back 2016, same night we had a riot at City Hall. I don't know if you recall that.
I do.
Okay, so that was an interesting experience for me.
All 6 people?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it was a larger,
okay.
it was a larger group.
But other than that, fortunately, it's never been that bad at a city council meeting. Now, we might have had a potential fist fight between council members, but that's about it.
Yeah, we saw popcorn for that, though.
Yeah. Can't we all just get along?
That's it. That's it.
Who was it? Gosh, I don't know. It's been probably a couple of years now. There was one guy who was showing up to council meetings and singing. He would sign up for citizen comments. He didn't come to Farmers Branch, but I believe he hit up Dallas and just crazy guy. And he had a song about Dr. Fauci and COVID and stuff. You don't remember that guy?
I don't.
Was he trying to get his 3 minutes of fame? I thought it was only 2. Don't you get 3 minutes to speak at a council
You
meeting?
get 3 minutes.
That's
but
a pretty smart idea, though.
But only if you sign up prior to. And but yeah, you guys need to check that guy out. That was hilarious. I always tried to find him because I always wanted to hire him to come to a Farmers Branch council meeting.
Thank you.
Sit there and watch this guy just come up there and start singing at the podium.
Singing about garbage collection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's what this guy would do. He would sing about all sorts of stuff. Anyways, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he was absolutely hilarious and hit several different council meetings all over the place.
That's funny.
But yeah, I want to say he got Plano or Frisco, something like that also. And
So once he starts, you can't stop him, right? It's his time?
You got your 3 minutes. I let everybody speak unless they're being disrespectful.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's smart, though, to get that extra minute in. You get 2 minutes of fame. He got 3.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got 3 minutes of fame. It's all recorded. If you go to a major municipality, Okay. Well, we got an
So
idea.
the city just paid for his recording,
Yes.
and it's all open record, so I can get that.
Yep.
Wow.
Would that make the city the record label if he
I would think, yeah.
went
Wow.
popular?
I would think they would.
They would
be-
own the rights, wouldn't they? The copyright.
They would. Well, no, because it's open
No,
record. It's everybody's.
The people own the rights.
Yeah, it's the people.
Ooh, how do you distribute that back when he goes famous?
Wow. Yeah.
I think we all get the rights.
There you go.
Get my 2 cents.
Well, we established in episode 9 that we pay our own salaries because we all pay taxes.
It's just one vicious cycle, man.
So, yeah, really.
is.
Maybe that's some reimbursement back for the taxes we pay. Okay.
So you,
That was
at,
totally
least,
off
at least
topic.
y'all got paid.
There you go.
Yes, we got paid. That was greatness. No, Jeff,
Yes, sir.
you got a couple stories you told us about, and one in particular, you mentioned a supervisor with a flat tire on his vehicle.
Oh yeah, the standard evening shift briefing. After that ends, usually everybody congregates out in the parking lot and chit chats for a few minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
Talks offline, so to say, about the assignments and what has gone down on the shift before. So we're out having that conversation. The supervisor's sitting in his car with his window down. We're all kind of standing on the driver's side of his car, just kind of hanging out, talking about what we're going to do for the night. And he keeps hearing this hissing sound. Well, in the middle of the conversation, he interrupts us and asks, "Do you hear that? Do I have a leak? Is there a tire leaking?" We can't hear anything standing outside the car. We'd obviously hear it louder than he would. So he kind of, blows it off for a second, and we go back to our conversation. A couple of seconds later, he goes, "I can hear that inside the car. It sounds like my tire's leaking." And he leans over to, kind of look out, and we're walking around his car, 4 or 5 of us, like a pit crew team, trying to figure out, does he have a leaking tire, man? We're going to save the supervisor from having a blowout today. And all of a sudden, he perks up, and he's like, "Hey, I got to go. I'll be back."
Uh-oh.
He drives off. We're left with this mystery of the supervisor leaving with a possible flat tire. What we didn't realize until several hours later, after he came back from the house and taken a shower, what he was hearing, the hissing, was his OC, his pepper spray on his gun belt. And as it was going off, it was saturating his thigh, and it had run down in his
Nether regions,
nether regions.
Wait, the twig and
twig and berries.
twig and berries. That's what it was.
And the pepper spray had caused a little irritation. So, needless to say, that doesn't go away with just one shower.
Oh, I bet he walked like John Wayne for a couple weeks. I'll fix your wagon.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, the reoccurring showers for several days, I'm sure, were interesting. But yeah, he was a little 10-6 for a little bit.
Oh, how do you do that? I mean, there's little safety switches and flips, and the flip cap on top of it, or some of them had the little red safety lever you got to slide over.
It's all in the way he was sitting, I suppose. But yeah, it was a topic of discussion over several briefings after that.
I bet that car was just horrible after that too. Because we've all had somebody get sprayed in the back seat, and then you got to try to drive to jail with them. And they're like, we can hang our hands at the window, they can't. But yeah, we've all done that. I'm pretty sure.
We used to hate that. And then I worked in the county jail where I first started, and if we had someone, someone came in to processing or intake, and they were fighting, they got pepper sprayed, it would just, man, it would affect everybody in the facility.
Especially when it hits the ventilation system.
Oh, absolutely, just super spreader.
Yeah,
But you mentioned the pepper spray in the car, and how that's going to linger around in there. Jeff?
a direct shot.
Yeah. Jeff, you have another story about a vehicle that might have been,
Yes, sir.
suspicious?
Yeah. Back when I was in training, I had a field training officer and a supervisor that had been playing pranks on each other since they'd come up through the ranks together. And the supervisor decided that he was going to go on vacation. And since he was assigned a take-home car, nobody drove that car. That was his car and his car only. So to secure it while it was on vacation, so nobody had the rights to get into it, he'd deliver it to the city shop with the orders of change the windshield wipers, they're bad, and keep it for the week. That way they didn't have the opportunity another officer could borrow his car and use it while he was gone, which all the rest of the take-home car officers had to do. So his car's there. We're riding in training, and the FTO's field training officer's car goes down, and he knows that the corporal's car is at the shop. So it's payback time. We're gonna one up you on the pranks. So we go get his car and use his car for the day at the end of shift.
Whoa. I got to hold you up there for a minute. You said, so we go. You meant, so someone else went.
Yes, the field training officer and I went together.
All right, I was just trying to throw you,
All good.
life raft.
Yep. So we use his car for the day. I'm driving. Before the end of shift ends, I get instructed by the field training officer to pull over at Kroger. He disappears in Kroger for a few minutes and comes back out. Now, note I don't understand, or I haven't been clued in on the pranks whatsoever so far as what's going on. He comes out with 2 cans of the large tuna fish in oil. So
He couldn't do fresh water, could he?
couldn't do fresh water. So I still have no clue where this is going. But at the end of the shift, when we park the car, it's a mess trying to find a can opener at a police station. But we actually find a way to get the cans open. And the FTO leaves them in the back floorboard of the supervisor's car as payback prank. Well, what he didn't realize is the supervisor was gone for another week. And what we didn't know at the time was the car wasn't going to be used during that time. So those cans didn't sit there overnight for the next morning when he was supposedly supposed to return. It sat there for another week.
Lovely.
Closed up, locked up in the Texas heat with tuna cans in the back floorboard.
In
I bet
oil.
that was worth than a dead body call, I bet.
The car didn't make it. The car got rotated out of fleet. Even after they tried to charcoal the smell out, they couldn't get the smell out.
And this was a new car?
A newer car, probably 40,000, 45,000 miles on it. So half-life was still available on that car.
I'm just glad your mayor didn't know.
It's like different city.
Different city.
Won't say where.
Yeah, shut that car down. I think I've got a story. We had a new in Farmers Branch. You had your frontline officers, then our ranks went corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, deputy chief, and chief. And I think now they changed deputy chief to assistant chief. But anyways, your first line supervisor was corporal, and we had rotated out our fleet. And the corporals had a brand new car. And this was many, many years ago. We had a veteran officer. He drove that car that night because we didn't have very many cars in service. So he took the corporal's new car out. And at night you get an alarm call at a business. You try to go in all stealth like. You don't want to roll up on a burglary in progress, something like that. So he never agreed with the ways of the younger officers. He was always set in his ways, but this night he decided, you know what, I'm going to roll up with my headlights off. And he missed the address, so he missed it by a couple of buildings, but it looked like the parking lots were all connected. So he came back across the parking lots with the headlights off, and there was like a sidewalk that was elevated probably about 6 inches or so between two of these parking lots. And man, he hit that in the corporal's new car. Airbags deployed on the front of the car, everything, and you kind of pull up, and he still kind of has a white powder on his face from the airbags. Went off, and the car is trashed. I mean,
What had happened was,
Thank you for sharing that. My tax dollars hard at work.
yeah. Well, what is it, the insurance thing?
I wanted to see the letter. Dear Corporal, while I was driving your car,
Yeah,
many things had happened.
I would have just jumped out and ran.
yeah,
I was never here. I was sick that night. Sorry, Corporal, I wouldn't work. So, yeah, that was an interesting one for sure. Now, Jeff, you mentioned an emergency call that you went out on and an anniversary.
An anniversary date led to a very interesting several hours. I get dispatched to back EMS, back our firefighters on an emergency medical call. So I get very little information and get over to the location. Once I get there, they want me to handle this intoxicated husband while they're dealing with the intoxicated wife. Well, it was their anniversary, and they happened to be out on a date, went to dinner, had a few drinks. Upon returning home, they decided to continue those drinks and took a bottle and a shot glass to bed with them in the bedroom to continue their anniversary celebration. And needless to say, the shot glass ended up somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be.
Where you don't normally put a shot glass.
You wouldn't normally put the shot glass, but Handy Dan, husband, was going to get that shot glass removed from his significant other on his own.
So wait a minute. Shot glass is where it's not supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it's stuck.
And it's stuck. And Mr. Handyman's going to do the work himself. He's going to remove it, play surgeon with his tools from the garage while intoxicated, and in the process, breaks the shot glass. Still stuck where it wasn't supposed to be. So medics get called. Medics get there and realize they can't move or transport this poor young lady because of the current situation. So they're having to bring a physician from a hospital by ambulance to take care of the problem at the actual scene before they can transport her. So husband's still trying to fight and wants to use his tools and wants to handle the situation himself. So I played babysitter for a couple hours so that medics can get the appropriate doctor after they get all the authorizations to be transported to the scene, to do what he needs to do to get her to where she can safely be moved and transported to an emergency room for the removal of any shards of glass that are left behind.
How long did it take you to write that report?
Oh, thank goodness that was a assist other agency on medical. I just cleared backing the fire department.
Yeah,
That was the extent of my notes.
I bet you didn't take a shot for a while after that.
Yeah, I bet the next anniversary was more subtle than that one.
If there was an anniversary,
If there was
you give a lot of guilt there.
yeah, that could be an ender for sure. Good grief! Who does that?
No, it's never crossed my mind.
Yeah, no. I never even. Yeah, no.
See all the things you see in law enforcement, the stories behind the stories.
Yeah, front row seat to the greatest show on earth.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. Well, listen, we're going to take a break. But, guys, before we take that break, let me remind you, if you have not been to the website yet, check it out. Offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. You can find all our previous episodes on there, as well as subscribe to the email list. So make sure you get in there, subscribe to the email list, check out the other episodes. If you are an officer and you have a funny story that you'd like to come in studio and tell our listeners, then give us a shout. Send us an email, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back to more Offbeat in just a minute. Welcome back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired Officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Detective Curtis Hadley.
Great to be here, guys.
We've got Farmers Branch City Mayor Terry Lynne with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we've got Officer Jeff Pruett joining us today.
Great to be here, guys.
Again, I want to remind everybody, if you have not been to the website, check it out. offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. You can view all episodes there on the website, as well as subscribe to the email list. So make sure you check that out. Also, if you're an officer and you have a funny story you want to come on the show and tell our listeners, then send us an email at offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Guys, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, Jeff, you told us about a story during the break. And you got a big smile on your face down there. And let us have it.
Peeping Tom incident. You know, in a career, you'll get several of those. So we have an apartment complex in the city I'm working in. And there's a complaint on a Peeping Tom that's hitting this complex, which is pretty much a college apartment complex. A lot of young girls living in the complex. So after several weeks of nobody being able to catch him and all these calls coming out, I'm lucky enough to be the one on duty in that area when I get dispatched to a Peeping Tom call in the complex. And it's like, game on. Okay, this is my turn. I'm going to catch him at all costs. So the backup officer that I get that happened to be close was another officer who was off duty in his take-home car heading home in street clothes. And he had missed him once before.
So he didn't care he was off duty.
yeah,
He said,
vendetta.
no,
Yeah.
I'm circling back. I want this.
His thought was he was going to catch him. I was going to do the paperwork. But either way, he wasn't going to get away this time. So we roll into the apartment complex, like you were talking about earlier. No lights on, trying to be as stealthy and tactical as we can. Thankfully, we didn't hit anything.
Yeah, try not to hit anything.
So we get out. We got the apartment complex building number. We get out behind the building. Right behind it is about a 8-foot fence dividing another apartment complex. So he decides he's going to take one end of the building. I'm going to take the other end of the building. We're going to bottle him in where he's got nowhere to go. He's going to have to fight his way out of this. So we get in there. Of course, it's 11 o'clock, midnight. We get in there. He's not in uniform. I'm in uniform. I've got a flashlight. He doesn't. So I turn around the corner and look down the little corridor, and you can see the guy standing behind the building, just like he was described. Hit the flashlight on him, scream police. He turns and takes one look at me, and he's going to run from the uniform.
He's gone.
Chase is on.
Chase is on. Completely unsuspecting, the non-uniformed officer is at the opposite end of the building. So I let him run. I'm not going to kill myself to go after him. He's running right to my partner.
Please.
Yes.
Stop.
So needless to say, he decides he's going to run the opposite direction, runs right into our off-duty officer, my backup officer, runs straight to him. So he catches him, gets him down on the ground, starts handcuffing him and everything. By the time I casually stroll up, hey, we've accomplished our goal. We got our guy. But the officer, off-duty officer standing there is like, what is this? And he's got something on his hands, on his pants leg, everything else. And of course, me, Peeping Tom, I'm thinking the worst right off. So we get him secured in the car, go back, talk to the young lady who noticed him looking through her window. We go back around the building, start checking the crime scene, and find a bottle of Finesse shampoo. Turns out the Finesse shampoo was his lubricant while he was doing his Peeping Tom activities.
I bet his hair smelled nice.
Nice and soft.
Does it make you wonder if he ran out of Head and Shoulders? It's like, that should be a commercial. No dandruff.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Are you a Peeping Tom? Do you suffer from dandruff?
Yes, there you go. Stop having dandruff, man.
So yeah, that was an adventure. That also becomes something you talk about down the road. You always get these stories with partners and stuff, and they always come back, but you always, have to harass the individual. So needless to say, he had several bottles of shampoo, especially those smaller travel shampoos, waiting in his box and at his desk when he returned the next day.
Did y'all dub him the Slippery Willie?
Slippery Willie. No, we should have. Very could have.
Well, see, that's what you've got to do. You can't let that one fade away.
Oh, no.
You know, every now and then you got to throw out a reminder of that. But that's, again, if you're not having fun at work, it's just work.
It's a job.
Yeah, it's just a job. So nobody wants to just work. So you find a way to make it fun. We've heard about all sorts of pranks back and forth between officers, and oh, good Lord, some of these have been atrocious.
If we could ever get everybody together and just get them to put their stories together and put them in a book, that'd probably be one of the best sellers.
Maybe.
Just all the stuff you could write about.
Yeah, but can we read? Maybe we.
It'd be written with the crayon.
Be one of those books that you put in your bathroom. You
Why is it?
Only read.
It either pop up or
While you're
scratch
doing
and
your
sniff. I'm
business.
pretty sure. Okay, let's just get it out there.
Maybe a movie.
Yeah, let's just do a movie.
Maybe right.
Hey, you know what? Maybe we'll just do a podcast instead.
Well, but if we do a movie, I'm doing Ryan Reynolds. He's gonna play my part.
Well, if that's the case, we'll get him to sign up for some council meetings and go read 3 minutes.
Keep them in your city.
All right, guys, that's what we got for today's show. Thank you for listening. And guys, stay safe out there and watch each other six.